Boys and girls, 3 laws is all you absolutely need to conquer this world, acquire the wealth that you want, acquire the success that you want. And I'll put it for you this way. I got personally introduced to those laws about 4.5 years ago. Of course, I'm not going to go ahead and sit over here and say that my life was a disaster before I got introduced to those laws. But let me put it for you this way. I feel like through those laws, it's quite literally as if you're going through an elevator and you're shooting yourself up. You've got to understand that those laws are not magical laws. There's nothing in this universe that is genuinely magical. Of course, it's all conscious awareness of relativity. But at the end of the day, those are natural laws. In fact, those laws are going to mean something to your heart because they're natural laws. I'm going to give you a natural law over here. If right over here, I'm on the 11th floor. If somebody would come onto this 11th floor, of course, I'm not going to do this because I care too much about myself. But if somebody were to come on this 11th floor and jump off the building, for example, jump off the balcony, there's one thing that's going to start to happen. One thing and one thing only. And most importantly, that process will happen inevitably and it will repeat itself. Here's what's going to happen. That person will simply fall down and it's not going to be a fun ride. If you jump off that 11th floor, rather you believe in the law of gravity or not, you're still going to go down. Wouldn't you agree? And so in a very similar manner, you've got to understand that rather you believe in the 3 laws and 3 principles that I'm about to break down right now, it doesn't matter what you believe. Those laws are still in operation. That is when something starts to click in your mind, is that rather you're on the boat or not, it's going to go. The laws are in operation. The laws are constantly in operation. It's either you're playing and you're flowing with those laws day in and day out, or you're basically one of those guys jumping off the building, jumping off the 11th floor, believing that you're going to start to fly. Do you understand? So it's up to you, of course, to listen to those laws, understand that it made me who I am today, and of course, take them, manipulate them in a way that it makes sense for you. The very first law that I would like to break down, and to be quite honest with you, this is a law that I speak about pretty much 24/7. I'm not a big fan of the law of attraction. I'm not a big fan of the law of assumption. All of those laws, of course, are laws that are inevitably phenomenal. Problem is, those are secondary laws. My mentor, Bob Proctor, said this. He said, Nicholas, if you're genuinely capable of understanding what governs all of those laws out there, such as the law of assumption, the law of attraction, if you're able to understand that there's one law that is actually governing everything, you'll be able to conquer the world like never before. That is exactly what I did. This law, my friend, is called the law of vibration. Now wait, the law of attraction overall says one thing. It simply says like attracts like. Whatever you think about, you should be attracting similar things that are on the same frequency of what you think about. Problem is, you don't always attract what you think about. You don't always attract what you say. You don't always attract what you want, but you will always attract what is on the same frequency as yourself. And that is exactly what the law of vibration states. Here's what it states word for word. The law of vibration states that if 2 bodies, no matter what the bodies are, right? When we're talking bodies, we could literally be talking about myself and a car, myself and $1 million, myself and $10 million, myself and an apartment that I want to be in. No matter what those 2 bodies are, if they are capable of holding themselves onto similar frequencies, listen carefully. The attraction of those 2 bodies are inevitable. The attraction of those 2 very bodies, which are on the same frequency, are inevitable. Now, I don't know what this feels like in your heart when you hear the word inevitable, but there's something inside of you that should spark. Because just like if you jump off this 11-foot building over here, the 11th floor, you're inevitably going to go down. And no God is going to come ahead and save you and throw you up to the sky. It's not going to happen. You will inevitably go to the ground. In a similar manner, if you genuinely understand how to shift your frequency, hop onto the exact same frequency of that which you desire, this world has no other choice but to give you this thing, that which you're on, that frequency that you're on. Of course, how do you do that? That's for a separate video. But of course, just understand one thing. You're not a 10-year plan away from your achievement, from becoming who you want to become. Shift this understanding from a 10-year plan away to a frequency away. That's how the law of vibration simplifies this world so beautifully, is that it makes you understand that you're simply one frequency away. And of course, it's not simple. It's not simple to identify what frequency that thing that you want is on. It is not simple. It's a process. And to be quite honest, if done wrong, it can be extremely detrimental. It's been detrimental for me, at least for the first 2 years of entrepreneurship. It's been detrimental. I haven't been on the frequency of that which I wanted because I genuinely simply followed what I saw on TikTok and Instagram telling me to run up 55,000 affirmations before going to sleep at night. It's all mumbo jumbo. This is not how you hop onto the frequency of the man or the woman that you want to become. Nonetheless, how to do so is for another video. What you've got to understand is your success is not as far away as you think it is. It's an illusion. illusion. You're a frequency away. That is what the law of vibration states. Understand that. Let the law of vibration genuinely incubate within yourself. And here's what you're going to start to see. Radiating confidence is going to start to bloom from within your heart. Radiating confidence immediately manifests into a higher frequency, which immediately manifests into higher circumstances. Circumstances of very high quality. That's what's going to start getting attracted to you. That is law number one. Law number two, a wonderful law, a fundamental law as well, a primary law, and honestly, one of the greatest laws that will, like I said, put some sort of mental peace within you that will allow you to comfortably feel confident, which of course, like I said, inevitably raises your frequency. We're actually talking about over here the law of polarity. The law of polarity essentially states one thing. It doesn't only state that there is no good and bad in this universe, but it essentially states that in every single field of human endeavor, there must be two polar opposites. What I mean by that is, no matter the fields that you're trying to look into your life, there must be two polar opposites. So for example, when you're thinking about the field of temperature, we're both going to agree that there are two polar opposites. There's cold and then there's heat. If we think of the echelon, for example, or the field of emotions, we're both going to agree that on one end, you have extreme sadness, you have depression. On the other hand, you have the epiphany of life, you have extreme happiness. So we see those polar opposites. If we think about the echelon of wealth, for example, over here you've got mediocrity, and on the other side, what do you have? Extreme wealth. That's what you've got. And so not only does the law of polarity puts you in a position where you are aware that in every single field that you observe, you will see those two poles, but here's what it beautifully states, is that there are no differences between the poles. Listen carefully. There are no differences between the poles. Let's think about the field of temperature, for example. There is no difference between heat and cold. There is no difference. It is quite literally the same element. It is quite literally the same nature, but it's just manifested at a different intensity. Do you understand? It is simply, so when you're looking at temperature, understand that there is no such thing as cold and heat. There is only one, and that thing is temperature. Cold and hot doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is temperature felt at different levels of life, at a different radiation, at a different intensity. Now, of course, it's fun, right? It's fun to understand that, but how does that help you to acquire phenomenal wealth? How can we transmute this knowledge and turn it into something that's going to make you a monumental success? Here's how we do so. If you're in a position right now where for some reason you feel poor, you feel like a mediocre you feel poverty basically bathing around your house 24/7. Understand that you're essentially in one single position of the field. You are at the bottom of the barrel. You are at the bottom of the echelon. And so on the field of wealth, you are polarized towards the bottom. You're polarized towards the bottom. That's all it is. You're polarized towards the bottom. You're polarized towards mediocrity. And so now here's the most beautiful thing. Wealth is not kilometers away from you. Wealth is an intensity away from you. That's what you need to start realizing. I believe that our society, or the society itself, is perishing because of one thing. It's because we believe that wealth is so far without. It is so far outside of us. When in fact, if you're feeling this sense of mediocrity in the first place, understand that wealth is already within you. I'm telling you that it's not you've got to go ahead and conquer wealth outside of you. If you feel mediocrity, the law of polarity genuinely tells you, if you feel something within, it's because you can polarize yourself onto the other end. If you're wealthy, you can polarize yourself back to mediocrity. And if you feel mediocre, you can polarize yourself back into wealth. Those two are the same. They are the same. They are just experienced at a different intensity. So you're probably going to ask me, okay, well, Nicholas, how do I polarize from one pole to the other? How do I go from mediocrity to being able to live and acquire everything that I want? Nicholas, you're telling me over here that I've simply got to shift. I've simply have to raise the intensity. How do I do that? You do that by going back to to the law of vibration. This is what allows you to swing between poles. What allows you to swing between poles in this universe is the law of vibration. Whenever you're understanding what the vibration of that other pole is, shift onto the vibration of that other pole. Shift onto the vibration of wealth. Shift onto the vibration of the other pole, and you will find yourself polarizing towards that pole. Do you understand? Those are natural laws. Everything that I'm breaking down to you over here, it's not just it might work, it might not work. Like I said, if we jump off this building, everybody's gonna fall to the floor. It will never happen. Somebody just starts to fly up to the sky. It'll never happen. Therefore, follow those laws and your success is inevitable. Let's get on to law number 3 over here. Lemon water. Delicious for all of you guys. Law number 3. The law of simple pendulum. The law of simple pendulum is a law that will essentially allow you to mix up that whole law of vibration aspect and law of polarity together. Understand that this world is made in such a beautiful way where each and every single one of the laws that are out there, they marry themselves. They all go hand in hand somehow. As you saw, the law of polarity is connected to the law of vibration. You cannot shift poles unless you polarize, unless you shift towards a pole by understanding the frequency of that pole that which you want to shift on and shift towards. And now we've got the law of simple pendulum. So here's what I want you to understand and think about. The law of pendulum is, it works. So first of all, act as if you've got over here. Act as if my arm over here is a literal stick. And act as if I have a cord, a very long cord. At the end of that cord, I have a ball. And so that ball, I'm basically able to bring it wherever I want. And when, for example, I decide to take that ball, put it over here and let it go, we will immediately have that ball swing to the next side and swing and swing and swing and swing, right? That's what happens. You have a stick over here, you have a cord. At the end of the cord, you have a ball. And when you drop the ball, it starts to essentially, it flows, right? That's what it does. You're going to see the pendulum flow. I mean, if you just go on Google and you look for a pendulum, you're going to see exactly what I'm trying to talk about. But essentially, what the law of simple pendulum says is, if, for example, you felt tremendously poor in your life, you felt tremendously unsuccessful, you felt tremendously poor, tremendously mediocre. Here's what the law of simple pendulum says. It says, just like life can take you and pull you so far deep into shit, so far deep into mediocrity, as long as you decide to shift, here's what happens. You're dropping the ball, and now it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and life can project you far deep into wealth as well. Just like you've been pulled into mediocrity, far deep into mediocrity, the law of simple pendulum says the minute that you decide to let go and to actually utilize those laws and to stop living in the consciousness of a peasant, the minute that you let go, the law of simple pendulum will shift you and bring you as far deep into wealth, so far that you're going to feel wealth just as bad as you're feeling poverty and mediocrity. Do you understand? So understand that if you are going through heartaches right now, if you are going through a moment of your life where everything is falling apart, understand that just like you feel that emotion, that anger so deep within your soul, that strong emotion that you feel and that strong reality that you're going through right now, just understand the intensity of that reality can be felt on the other side of the pendulum as well. I mean, just as hard as you feel poor right now, it is possible to feel just as hard, to fall just as hard into the nature of wealth, into the nature of success. So that law essentially makes you understand that in between the pendulum on both ends, what we have, it's the poles, it's the polarity. I can pull you deep, deep, deep into cold, and as soon as you let go and you drop, you can go deep, deep, deep into heat. And if I take you and you're right now deep, deep, deep into mediocrity, and I let go, you will go deep, 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 deep into wealth. But you must let go of that ball. That way the pendulum starts to swing the other way around. How do you let go? That is surely for another video. But one of the many ways to let go is through the law of vibration. It's to allow that space within your life for wealth to start to flow in. It's to allow yourself to let go and to flow on the other end of the pendulum. It allows you to flow and polarize onto the other side. So here's what you know so far. If right now you're debating whether you should live or die, and you're like, well, fuck, my life is absolutely atrocious. I feel so deep within mediocrity mediocrity, I feel so deep within failure, just understand that the same intensity can be felt within wealth. And it's not just that it can, it's that if you let go, you will be naturally projected on the other side of the pendulum. So, again, we're oversimplifying life for you. You're now understanding that it's just a matter of letting go. And you understand that wealth, through the law of polarity, is not 55,000 kilometers away from you. You're only one polar opposite. That's all it is. You've only got to polarize towards the other end. And like I said, through the law of pendulum, you understand the intensity at which you can start to flow towards the other end, at which you can start to flow and fly towards the other pole. Do you understand? And of course, the law of vibration puts you in a position where it makes you understand. How do you go from point A to the other? How do you go from one pole and starts to swing through the law of pendulum to the other side towards wealth? How do you do that? How do you let go? How do you start that flow state? How do you start to swing? You start to swing through the law of vibration, which states, hop onto the frequency of that which you want. And you cannot help yourself but acquire this very reality. And that is a quote that I've quoted by my friend Albert Einstein. And with that being said, my people, I shall be waiting for you at the top.